Well, the president has a tough task tonight. He'll have to protect not just us, but also our pockets. A new study explores voter sentiment around the world. Here's the thing. People seem to rate their leaders based on their economic situation. Let's crunch the numbers now. Michael Marillier joining us in studio for more. So, Mike, this research suggesting that the economy is really top of mind. Tell us what's the takeaway for South Africa.
So, Shahan, this was done by the Pew Research Center looking at 14 countries around the world, many of them so-called advanced economies, but there are some key lessons that South Africa can take away from it. And as you mentioned, you're finding two very distinct groups. One group which is very negative about the state of the economy during COVID, and another which is pretty positive about the situation. And they tend to rate their leaders, their presidents, in very different ways. Surprise, surprise, right? It is all about the money. So we're calling these two groups the bulls and the bears. If you've ever followed the stock market, you'll know that the bulls are very positive about the state of the economy and the bears are really negative and skeptical. So you're going to see those two different groups on our graphic, and you'll see how they rate the country's governments respectively. So this is the United States. We'll start with this one, Shahan. So the bears, who of course are negative about the economy, 34% of them said the government was doing a good job. Compared to the bulls, nearly 80% of them thought that their country's government was handling the crisis. In Spain, a similar pattern emerges, Shahan. Less than half of the bears thought the country was doing a great job. Nearly 90% of the bulls gave their government the thumbs up. Even in Belgium, Shahan, we're seeing a pattern as well. 52% of the bears thought the country was doing okay. Again, 80% of the bulls said the government was handling the crisis. And Japan, which is very seldom a controversial country, we've even seen a gap emerge there. 53% of the bears saying that their president did a good job, whereas 70% of the bulls thought he handled it properly. So you're seeing this big gap in all of these countries, Shahan, in terms of the bulls and the bears. It seems the economic situation a critical factor when people are assessing their governments.
Yeah, so we know that President Cyril Ramaphosa is known for a phrase in South Africa, and basically he used it when he was trying to win over support as he was getting into that election fight within the ANC, and it was Tuma Mina. But do South Africans actually have an appetite for another pep talk?
Well, that's the key thing. Of course, he's spoken about national unity time and time again, almost every time he comes onto our screens, Shahan. And I think that might be a challenge when you look at some of the other countries which featured in this particular study. So people were asked, Shahan, whether their country was more divided after the coronavirus outbreak than before. 77% of Americans said it was more divided. Germany, which is regarded as a really stable country, a thriving country, 54% of them said the coronavirus had entrenched divisions. And in the UK, 46% said that the country was more divided than before. Even Australia, Jean, which we know handled the virus pretty well for the most part, 4 out of 10 Australians saying the country was more divided. And when you look at the average across all these 14 countries, around about 48% saying that the COVID cracks were starting to show. In other words, the inequality within the society was becoming wider and more visible. And remember, Shahan, South Africa has one of the most unequal societies on the planet. If this is the situation in these countries, you have to wonder what it will be like for South Africa. And that's a challenge that the president will have to address.
All right, thanks so much for that, Michael Marillier.